All right, everybody, and now we are to the main event. In the fourth fight, the quadrilogy between the now new UFC middleweight champion and Alex Poatan Pereira, defending his title against the former champion in Israel, the last stylebender Adesanya, after handing him his first loss in the UFC's middleweight division, not his first UFC loss, that came at the hands of Jan Blachowicz, but also the man who is up 3 wins, no losses against the last stylebender. Is it Poatan or the last stylebender that walks out as the middleweight king? Guys, I've done the breakdown on this fight for UFC 281, and I feel like the breakdown was pretty on point. I'd have to go back and watch it again to really make sure that breakdown was solid. But I'm going to be honest, and I'm just going to say this right off the bat, because this breakdown will probably not be as long as my original breakdown was, because it doesn't need to be, because we're going to be looking at a lot of the same stylistics, a lot of the same weapons that each man is going to be able to use. And Israel Adesanya does have the ability to knock out Pereira. He has the ability to do it. He basically, we saw it at the end of the first round at UFC 281. He was able to time it, jab, feint the jab, keep the jab out there, or he kept the jab out there as like a frame and was able to come over the top of the jab of Pereira with the overhand right. And then as he hurt him with the overhand right, he sat down, stepped in with the left hook, and put Pereira in a chair, dropping him, and then the round ended. If the round continued, if there was 20, 30 more seconds, more than likely Pereira would have been knocked out there. And we saw him hurt him with that same combination, the jab to keeping the jab out there and changing up the timing, and then using that jab frame to come over the top with the overhand right and hurt Pereira. That worked a lot for him. He would jab, keep it out there, boom. Switching up the timing would allow for Pereira to use those hands out in front, kind of like the Thai style kick guard, but he uses more of the Thai style kicking guard to use that to block punches, parry, and come over with his unbelievable left hook, the straight right hand, the right uppercut, left hook. Keeping those hands out there allows him to catch the shots and then shoot the counters, or catch, step off, and pivot on the lead foot to land the left hook. Pereira only needs one shot or one flurry to put Adesanya away throughout a 25-minute bout. Adesanya needs to fight perfect, fight technical, use his grappling, use a lot of fakes and feints, keep Pereira at a distance, and really just be able to fight perfect for 25 minutes. I'm going to say it. He has the ability to knock out Pereira. We saw him hurt him. We saw him hurt him in his kickboxing fights as well, but they gave that decision to Pereira in the first fight when a lot of people believed Adesanya won, and then he obviously knocked him out in the second fight. But he gets hurt with a lot of similar combinations. The setup from Pereira, and we already know, is Pereira is going to be looking to land the left hook. The left hook is the cleanest left hook and most dangerous punch in combat sports. Most dangerous punch in kickboxing and MMA is Alex Pereira's left hook. He has the best left hook in the game, because that left hook, if it lands, is going to put you to sleep. And it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter if it's middleweight, light heavyweight, even some heavyweights. I think Pereira could catch on the chin with that left hook and knock him out. It's crisp, it's clean, there's no windup. It's a picture-perfect left hook. And even with the lack of windup, just being able to turn the hip over and bang it on the chin, he can knock out anybody. And he can knock out Izzy. And he hurt him with the same setup he used to hurt Sean Strickland in the fight he knocked him out in at UFC 276. It was up against the cage. He jabbed him to the body, got Izzy to lower the level and circle towards his right, which was Alex Pereira's left, and then lunge in with the left hook on the same side. The jab to the body, circle across the cage linearly, or circle linearly across the cage, and bang, land the left hook as he's circling away, moving laterally. I shouldn't say linearly. It's not even a word. As he moves laterally, bang, catches him with the left hook on the lateral movement, and then the barrage of punches would come after that. He also did hurt him with a lead left uppercut. It was a mixture between a uppercut and a jab, kind of like an up jab. He caught him, boom, a hook uppercut hybrid, and then the jab to the body, bang, left hook, and then the barrage of punches that came after. Izzy, I've heard people say that Adesanya fights scared against the guy in Pereira, and I understand why, but I think anybody would fight like that. knowing that not only is wrestling and grappling not their first skill set, but they're known for being a heavy striker. They're known for being the best striker in the division. They're known for being the most technical striker in not only the UFC, but in the middleweight division. And all these guys, they both have an ego. I think Izzy fights on ego a little bit more, even though he was fighting smart and technical using his wrestling, getting some takedowns against Pereira. But the one thing you have to understand is a lot of the reasoning why Adesanya got the takedown against Pereira, at least the first time, was that Pereira tried to body lock Izzy and work an outside trip, and he actually got himself off balance, fell backwards, and that allowed Izzy to counter with the body lock, step back, use the backside trip, and get the top position. It wasn't so much the takedown offense of Israel Adesanya, it was more the takedown incompetency and the lack of experience in terms of setting up takedowns when Adesanya crashed the pocket, and Pereira making the mistake which gave Adesanya the top position. Yes, he did get takedowns in the fight, but they were also the first takedown, the main takedown was done because Alex Pereira made a mistake and set up a takedown attempt of his own the incorrect way, which allowed for Izzy to counter the takedown attempt and step behind for the backside body lock trip. So always got to keep that in mind when you break it down. I like the similar combinations for Izzy again in this fight. Like I said, he loves the jab, the right low kick, but Pereira is very good at catching the low kick or checking it. He likes to take his lead leg, and kind of bring it up like a figure four behind the knee or by the knee, which is going to allow for the target to be taken away, but can also check the kick off the knee if it's thrown at the correct angle, and it's going to allow for the calf kick to not be effective because you're not going to be hitting the calf. Even if you land that kick, even though most of the time you're going to miss because they're picking up their leg and bringing it behind the opposite leg, you can potentially hit the kneecap because the other part of the leg in the shin and the calf muscle are being brought up and taken away from your target. So the target's gone and you're going to run into the hardest target on the leg, which is the kneecap, which can break your shin, which is actually right before the finishing sequence in the 5th round when Adesanya got pushed up against the cage and pressured. It was because he threw a low kick and Adesanya or Pereira pulled it away and Izzy kind of got knocked off balance, but it's because he kicked the knee and got the kick checked and then got knocked off balance from that. So look, I think that this is another fight where Pereira has to find the perfect shot in 25 minutes and Izzy has to either knock him out or fight perfect for 25 minutes. I think that we live in a world where no matter what Adesanya does, Pereira is going to be able to catch him. And I think he could catch any middleweight. He can catch anybody in this middleweight division with the left hook and put him away. He could catch Yuri Prohaska with this left hook and put him away. I think the more well-rounded fighter is going to be Adesanya, but I want you to take something into consideration when breaking down this fight. His head coach is going to be Glover Teixeira, right? He trains alongside Teixeira. They came up together when Pereira came over to the UFC. Glover was the light heavyweight champion. And then Pereira won the middleweight title, and after he lost to Yuri, he still had the title going into UFC 282. No, that was the rematch. So Glover had lost the title, but then Pereira won the title. Now Glover is retired. He's no longer fighting. So you know what that means? All of Glover Teixeira's focus in terms of MMA, coaching, training, is centered around one man, and that's the middleweight champion in Alex Pereira. So I'm going to tell you one thing. Even though Izzy was able to out-grapple Pereira, even though Izzy was able to get a takedown, mainly based off the fact that Pereira made a mistake in setting up his own takedown attempt, and even though he was able to take down Izzy in the second round, which actually won him that second round, I think you could make an argument for Adesanya losing the first round as well, because up until he hurt Alex with that shot that didn't even drop him, but it did rock him, that fight was going in the direction of Alex Pereira. I think Pereira could arguably have won the first round, won the second round, lost the third, lost the fourth, and then finished him in the 5th. If he didn't finish Izzy, and then maybe Izzy would have found a way to come back and, survive the round, he would have won the 5th. So if the judges would have given the first, second, and the 5th to Pereira, there's a potential world where Pereira could have won the decision. Originally, I thought it was clearly round 1 Izzy, round 3 Izzy, round 4 Izzy, round 5 Alex, round 2 Alex, But obviously the 5th round didn't matter because that's when Alex got the finish. But Pereira is so effective at setting up the left hook. He jabs to the body, follows up with the same side left hook. He throws the right hand, follows up with the left hook behind it, because if you slip inside the right hand, you're going to run into the left hook. He likes to throw the right high kick, which is going to block the opponent's power side and take away his weapon. and then allow him to not only block the power, but to circle the opponent into the kill shot in the left hook. Everything that Pereira does is setting traps, marking his territory, and setting smoke screens and is developing illusions to direct you into the kill shot in the bow and arrow that is his left hook. Poatan will put anybody away with the left hook. He caught Izzy with it even before he knocked him out. He caught him early, backed him up against the cage, and almost caught him with the left hook multiple times to the point where it was literally grazing off the chin of Izzy. And every time Izzy got pushed back to the cage or was pressured and pushed back, you could see that Izzy was not comfortable because he knew the danger that was coming at him in the punching power and the striking ability of an Alex Pereira. I think we're going to see a Pereira in this fight that maybe uses his grappling more than people expect. I think that Alex will be more willing to grapple with Izzy in this fight than he was in their last fight because of the fact that Teixeira is more than likely working his clinch game, working his pummeling game, working his takedown game, working his top game, working his game off of his back, working his guard game, working the top control, working the arm triangles, the rear naked chokes, taking the back. I think Pereira is going to come into this fight with a better ground game. I think for the most part, yes, it will play out on the feet, but I do think that the grappling of Pereira is going to be showcased more in this fight when a lot of people are expecting Adesanya to go back to the well with the grappling, takedowns, and top control because he was able to control Pereira on the floor, was able to wrap him up in the Dagestani handcuff, land some ground and pound, and, bring out his Dagestani Russian roots against Pereira in the last fight. I think Pereira is going to be more prepared in this fight. I think Pereira is going to be more effective with the grappling in his own right and potentially even catch Israel in a submission, but we haven't gotten there yet. The thing with Izzy, like we already talked about, was the jab to pull out the parry from Pereira and then feint the jab, keep it out there, and land that overhand right. That's always going to be effective against a guy in Pereira who doesn't necessarily use head movement because he's so long and rangy. He likes to pull away from shots, pull back, come back on the counter, pull. It's not many slips from Pereira. There's not many slips to left and right. There's not many rolls. It's more just pulling and keeping the opponent away, using the Thai-style kicking guard to block, parry, deflect punches, and then come back with counters. Straight right, left hook, right uppercut, left hook, jab, left hook, feint right hand, left hook, right high kick, left hook, left high kick from southpaw, go back orthodox, bang the left hook as you switch stance. Pereira actually has a sneaky good left high kick from southpaw, and I think if we see a single fighter switch stances in this fight, the stance changes, the angle shifts are more going to come from Izzy because he's going to want to be in southpaw to attack the left body kick against Pereira, to attack the straight left, to attack with the check right hook against the left hook of Pereira, the right cross there, the left cross to the body, switching up his stances, changing angles, switching southpaw, switching back orthodox to square up the hips of Pereira. Pereira's going to switch southpaw, land the left high kick, switch southpaw, land the left body kick, go back orthodox. But the more stance changes, angle shifts, fakes, and feints are all going to come from Izzy. But we know that because that's how he likes to fight. He likes to pick the opponent apart. I just don't think he can pick apart Pereira in this fight. I know he was probably going to win the decision. More than likely, 90% he was going to win that decision and retain his title until he got knocked out. But that's exactly what I said prior to the fight in my breakdown of UFC 281. Israel Adesanya has to fight perfect for 25 minutes or has to find a shot to knock Pereira out. Pereira only needs to find one shot in a 25-minute bout to knock out Izzy. And that's basically what we saw, even though he was more competitive in the fight than I think people are giving him credit for. And he even showcased some grappling upside, which I think we're going to see more of on the side of the champion in Pereira in this quadrilogy fight. And I think we're going to see Pereira be more comfortable using his wrestling and jiu-jitsu. I think Pereira is going to catch Izzy with the left hook and knock him out again. I think he's going to do it earlier. I just don't see a world where Adesanya can avoid that shot again. Like he avoided it for, 22 and a half minutes, but he didn't even avoid it for 22 and a half minutes. He got hit with that left hook, but it just wasn't super flush. He almost got caught with it multiple times. He got caught with it at the end of the second round, I believe. It was either the second or the third, and he got hit up against the cage. You know what? No, it was the fourth round. He got caught with the left hook against the cage, almost the identical setup he used to knock him out in the fifth round, and he rolled and kind of slipped underneath, but he got caught and he got wobbled. It's just he used that roll to kind of disguise it, and, act like he wasn't hurt. But he got hurt at the end of the 4th round before he got knocked out in the 5th. So again, you got to look at everything when you look at this fight. I think Izzy is the more well-rounded fighter. I think Izzy has more weapons than Pereira. I think Izzy can go to more weapons than Pereira. I think Pereira is going to come into this fight with a more well-rounded grappling game, which is going to stifle a potential game plan for Adesanya, even though I do expect most of this fight to take place in kickboxing and boxing range, and then the footwork and the lateral movement and the fakes and feints to take place just outside of the kicking range, so the opponent can step in or potentially pull counter and come back with striking combinations of their own. I like Pereira to knock out Izzy again. I'm going to go with Alex Pereira to retain and he's going to knock out Izzy, but it's not going to be a TKO. He's going to knock him out cold. He's going to catch him with that left hook. Same setup he used against Sean Strickland, jab to the body, left hook up top. Same combination setup he used to hurt Izzy before the finishing sequence, jab to the body. So it was a lead up jab, left uppercut and a hook hybrid from Pereira, which snuck through the guard and wobbled Izzy for a second. It was a jab to the body, and it was a lunging left hook, circling his way left to cut off the lateral movement of Izzy. That banged Izzy right on the chin and knocked him out. I think he's going to catch him, hurt him, and knock him out. But I will give you one tidbit. And I'm not going to pick Alex Pereira to win it this way, but I'm going to say this, and many people probably aren't going to agree with me. I think there is a world where Pereira hurts Adesanya on the feet, wobbles him, stumbles him. Izzy shoots a bad takedown, and Pereira grabs the neck and submits Adesanya. Think about Glover Teixeira, right? Think about Glover having no fights anymore. Think about Glover putting all his focus and all of his attention on Pereira going into this fight. He's fully focusing on developing the full MMA game of Pereira, a guy who's only had 8 fights in professional MMA compared to 25 professional MMA fights for Adesanya. Adesanya almost triples him in experience, but Pereira just seems to be the kryptonite. Well, now Glover Teixeira is not only developing the striking, which is already unbelievable, he's sharpening up his takedowns, his grappling ability, his get-up game, his sweeps, his whizzer game, his takedown ability, his submission attempts, his submission defense. That's all being polished up by not only a training partner who was a successor in the UFC and a former champion, but one of the best grapplers, submission, and jiu-jitsu artists in the UFC's light heavyweight division, where Pereira can potentially, contend for gold if he decides to move up from middleweight, which he probably will because he's such a big guy. I think there is a world where Pereira hurts Adesanya, wobbles him, and then grabs his neck and submits him. And I think the odds for Pereira to win by submission are like plus 2,000. So that's worth a little bit of a sprinkle if you're on the side of Pereira to take Alex Pereira by sub. But my official prediction for the fight is going to be and still Alex Poatan Pereira to defeat Israel the Last Style Bender Adesanya via a second round knockout. Not a TKO, but a clean KO. Catching him with the left hook as he circles away and knocking Adesanya out cold. Alex Poatan Pereira to retain his UFC middleweight championship via a, what did I say? Did I say second round, third round? All right, I'll make it official here. Alex Poatan Pereira to defeat Israel the Last Style Bender Adesanya via a second round knockout victory, catching him on the chin with the left hook and putting him away. But the submission sprinkle is worth a shot, and I think I gave a pretty good explanation as to why. When it comes to a betting perspective, I like the under 4.5 rounds. On either side, I don't think this fight goes the distance. Even though it basically almost went the distance before, it still didn't go the distance. So I like fight doesn't go to decision. I like the under 4.5 rounds, which is currently sitting at, I think, like minus 120. Let's see. Give me a second. Total rounds. All right, under 4.5 is minus 130. I like under 4.5 rounds. I like Alex Pereira on the money line at a plus 120. I think that's what he's at right now, right? Plus 120. Yeah, plus 110. So I like Pereira on the money line, plus 110. I like under 4.5 rounds at a minus 130. And I like the Alex Pereira to win by knockout, which is actually pretty juiced right now, considering the way that Alex Pereira more than likely is going to win this fight 10 out of 10 times. Alex Pereira by knockout is plus 205. It was plus 225, plus 230 earlier in the week. It's now at plus 205. Pereira to win by sub is plus 2,500. So my number one pick is Alex Pereira moneyline. My number two pick is Pereira by KO. My number three pick is the under 4.5 rounds. And my fourth pick is Alex Pereira by submission at a juicy plus 2,500. But the pick is Pereira to retain the UFC middleweight championship and defeat Adesanya via a third round knockout victory.